The Bad Mood by Moritz, Petz, illustrated by Emily Dukowski. Badger said to himself when he woke up. I'm in a bad mood today. This might be dangerous. Maybe I'd better stay at home. At breakfast, Badger reconsidered. What was the point of being in a bad mood if nobody noticed? Everybody ought to know how miserable I feel, he thought, so Badger headed out, slamming the door behind him. Look how grumpy he looks. Badger was going along his usual route when he met Raccoon. Good morning, Badger, Raccoon said cheerfully. Good morning? What's so good about it? Badger replied and stomped off. Raccoon was so shocked he didn't say goodbye. Deer was doing his washing. Hello there, Badger. Sleep well? None of your business, Badger said. Well, excuse me for asking, said Deer. Good, thought Badger. Now Deer and Raccoon know I'm in a bad mood. Badger kept going. On his way, he met Mouse and Fox and Hare and Squirrel. He was rude to them as he could be. When he was finished with his morning walk, Badger came back home and started to work in his garden. As he was digging and weeding, the strangest thing happened. His bad mood just slipped right off of him, as if it had been a shirt that was too hot to wear. Badger became so happy that he started to whistle a sweet song. Badger didn't stop working until late that afternoon. He was deeply satisfied with himself. He went out to the clearing to play with the other animals, but the woods were still silent and not an animal appeared. Strange, thought Badger. Where are they all? He went to Raccoon's house to ask. Raccoon was not in a good mood. Leave me alone, he grumbled. Badger was shocked. No one had ever been so rude to him before. It wasn't any better with the other animals. Fox told him to get lost. Squirrel hurled a nut at his head. Mouse and Hare shouted and hissed at Badger, which made him quite dizzy. Badger was miserable. When Blackbird came to visit, he told her about how mean all the animals had been to him. There must be a reason, said Blackbird. Badger thought about it. Well, he said finally, I was in a bad mood this morning, and I guess I took it out on my friends. I was very rude to them. Badger felt just awful. Oh dear, what can I do? Blackbird and Badger thought about the problem together. Suddenly, Badger jumped up. I have an idea, he said. Will you help me? Indeed I will, said Blackbird. Party tonight, crowed Blackbird as she fluttered through the forest. Everyone who is in a bad mood is invited. Come to the clearing at moonrise for a bad mood party. And since Badger had passed his bad mood on to other animals, they all showed up at the party. When they saw Badger standing in the clearing, they glared angrily at him. Look at how grumpy everybody is. Badger took a deep breath. I want to apologize, he said. This morning I was in an awful mood, and I took it out on all of you. You are my friends, and it was a terrible thing for me to do. I am so sorry. Will you please forgive me? At last the animals smiled. Together they sang songs and danced until dawn. All right. So he apologized for his bad mood. So we're going to make a little mood chart, and it has some emojis on it, and you can then move the little arrow around to indicate what your mood is, so you can tell other people so you're not rude to them. So our little mood emoji chart starts with a circle, so it's a piece of craft foam. And if you don't have the thicker craft foam, you can put two pieces together like I did. And so that was the start of it. And then we need our different colored sections. So you can do this easily with a marker if you want, and you can section off your circle like a pie with a marker, and you can just color each section in with a marker, or just leave them pink and put your emojis on like that. Or you can do what I did, which is cut out different colored pieces of construction paper. So what I did was I made a circle about the same size as my foam circle, and I folded it in all different directions until I had the number of pieces of pie or pieces of triangle shape that I wanted, and then I cut one of those out. And once I had that, I went through and I traced it onto my colored paper. So these are all the colors that I'm going to use on my little emoji chart. So I traced it onto some blue paper and traced it onto all the different colors. So I traced it onto purple. So I'm going to cut all those out. And after I have them all cut out, I'm going to attach them onto my circle. So there's the next one. So if you don't want to do this step of tracing and cutting out the paper, you can just take your circle and divide it up using a marker. And once you're satisfied with how many sections you have, now remember that the sections that are larger can hold a larger emoji face. If you're doing smaller sections, you're going to have to make your circles smaller to cover those in. So I think I'm going to start with those. Also going to do a light blue one from my original folding. And I'm going to attach all of those onto my circle. So I'm going to dot some glue on those. They don't need to have tons of glue on them. And you'll be able to see how our pie starts to come together. So I know that when I did this the first time, I had to sort of adjust my circles and make some of them closer together and some of them farther together, depending on how close your cutting was, to make the chart all come together. Okay, and I have one more, and then I'm going to leave my last one pink. So I'm not going to put one there, I'm going to leave one of them as a pink. Alright, so you can just go through and space those nicely. If you have one of them too big, then you can just squeeze it over and overlap it. So that's the start of my little emoji chart. And then of course the next step is to cut out our emoji faces, or our emotion faces. So you're gonna cut one circle. So I can just trace around something that's a nice circle for this shape. If you're not confident cutting out circles, you can trace around like a salt and pepper shaker or something. So once you have one circle, that makes all the other circles easier, because you can just layer your paper that you're gonna cut. And so we need 6. We need 6 circles. So I'm gonna stack 5 more pieces of paper on top, and you can either trace around them or you can just hold them all together and cut. So if I was going to trace around, I would take my first circle and I trace around there, and then I layer all my pieces, and with a decent pair of scissors that can cut through a few layers, you can cut your 5. If your scissors are not sharp enough for that, you can just do one or two at a time. So whatever is going to work for your craft supplies that you have. So then there is all my circles once I undo all the layers. And I'm going to go around and I'm going to attach each of those onto my emoji chart. And while you're doing that, you can start to think about all the emotions that you want to put on your emoji chart. So some days people are in good moods and some days people are in bad moods. So you can think about the emojis that represent your moods that you have. So there's my chart so far. And then before we go ahead and draw our emojis, we're going to do the arrow. So in order to do the arrow, I just took a pair of scissors and I used the corner of it and I poked a hole. And the craft foam is really easy to poke holes in. If you can't do that without a parent, that's fine. Ask a parent to help you. And it just needs to be a little hole so you can get your fastener in there. And then I'm taking another piece of craft foam from my original stuff and I'm going to make my arrow. So the first thing I did is actually made a little tiny circle, or it could be a square or a little piece of foam underneath my arrow so that my arrow slides smoothly around my chart. So it doesn't have to be a circle, it can be whatever shape you want, but just sort of a little notch that's going to go under there. And I'm going to just poke a hole in that with my fastener. And then the next part is my arrow. So we know that an arrow has a triangle at the end. And so you can go ahead and draw your triangle. And then we know that we need a bit of an arm to attach it. So I'm going to draw my arm a little bit longer than I actually need it to begin with. And then as you adjust it onto your chart, you can shorten the arm. So that's my beginning of my arrow. And if I feel that that's too long, I'm going to cut it a little shorter. So I'm going to hold that on top of my chart with my circle that I cut out first to raise it up a little bit. And then I'm going to add my arrow on top. And if I feel that that arrow is long enough, I'm going to leave it that size. And I do think it's fine. So I'm going to poke my fastener through these two layers. And then I'm going to poke it through the hole that we sort of pre-cut. And then on the back with these fasteners, you fold each side down. And that's how you get your arrow to spin. And you can't do it too tight, which I just did. Otherwise, it's not going to spin nicely. So I'm going to just loosen that a little. Okay. And then afterwards, you can go back with your markers and you can decide what emotions or what kind of moods that you want to put on your emojis. So of course, because our story was about being in a bad mood, we're going to draw one bad mood emoji. So I'm going to do like a big frowny face with frowny eyes and frowny eyebrows. So that would be my bad mood emoji. I'm going to do my confused emoji, which I like to do big wide eyes and a crumpled up mouth. I'm going to do my like or love emoji, which I like to do with heart eyes and a big smile. I like to do like the little wink emoji, which sometimes means if you have a secret or a joke or something, you can do like a little wink emoji. So we can do that. And to do a wink emoji, you do like one eye closed winking and the other eye open, and then a big happy face. And so whatever emojis you can think of for your mood that suits you, you can do those. And I'm just going to quickly do like a big happy one for the last one. Great big happy face on the last one that I did there. And you can certainly decorate or color those in as much as you want. So think of all your emotions that you're having during the week, and you can fill those out. and you can adjust your chart and your arrow to fit all of those moods, and you can let people know instead of being in a bad mood and being rude to them.